Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chair, Executive Branch Officers, members of the body, and elders and employees of the Executive Branch. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we left off yesterday with a motion to go into the Executive Branch on the proposed 2013 budget. What was introduced yesterday was the 2013 budget of the 27 million, which is, I believe, is what's on the floor right now. And so, before we go any further, one of the ex-senators, his wife just passed away. I stopped by and saw him this morning before I came. And so anyways, out of, he's they always say one's a senator is always a senator, and there's quite a few that are in here that are senators. But yeah, I think we take a moment of silence at this time on behalf of Tiagashi Goche, Ilgawa Actually, Achbe, Iwak Bacon Go. Yeah, again, the rest of the go, let's go, and call me. Thank you. So I believe, Mr. Speaker,
All right, so we're still in the debate portion. We had come up with the budget, we're still on the budget. And I believe we had some requests to the executive branch. So at this time, Chairman of the Executive Branch, Chairman Black Eagle, if you have your requests, you can present to the senators at this time. As we had, Mr. Speaker, if I may. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Representatives of the legislative branch, tribal officials, 107, Your Honor, Your Honor. Yesterday when we talked about alternative budgets, and I'd like to read this letter into record as it's being passed up. And then I'll explain after that. And the letter is addressed to Kenneth Shane, Speaker, Legislative Branch, Crow Tribe, October 3rd, 2012. Mr. Speaker Shane, I submitted a budget prepared for fiscal year 2013 on June 22nd, 2012, and it was referred to the Legislative Branch Revenue Committee in July 2012 quarterly session. Executive Branch, Legislative Branch, and Judicial Branch met at length yesterday, October 1st, 2012, to review and discuss the budget for fiscal year 2013, which has yet to be approved. The Executive Branch has the power and responsibility pursuant to Article 4, Section 3D, to administer any funds within the control of the tribe and make expenditures from available funds for the tribal purposes, including salaries and expenses of tribal officials or employees, and prepare an annual budget for the operation of the tribal government, including separate budgets for the legislative and judicial branches. for approval by the legislative branch of the government and the Secretary of Interior. The legislative branch in return has the power and duty pursuant to Article 5, Section 2E to grant final approval or disapproval of an annual budget prepared by the executive branch of government. We discussed this budget yesterday and listened to your requests and concerns, and we have, through our discussions yesterday, agreed to restore the previous level of funding for the legislative branch, which will allow for the members of the legislative branch to continue to be compensated at their current level. We have also allocated additional funding to the judicial branch for the purposes detailed by the tribal court staff and the chief judge, consistent with the discussions and agreements. The executive branch submitted a revised proposed budget yesterday afternoon. Regarding your request for current fiscal information, the executive branch will be providing a quarterly financial report as required by Article 4, Section 4B of the Constitution for the legislators' October 2012 quarterly session here in the next week or so. And in response to your request for additional information and documents, including the agreement to retain outside counsel for the Water Rights Settlement Act, I have reviewed the relevant provisions in the 2001 Constitution. Article 4, Section 3E states that the executive branch shall exercise the power and responsibility to employ legal counsel for the protection and advancement of the rights of the Crow tribe and its members. Because retaining legal counsel is outside the realm of the legislative branch authority, and because the agreement entered into with outside counsel does not contain a waiver of the Crow tribe's sovereign immunity, that would have required approval of the legislative branch. This agreement is not subject to your review and is not subject to further negotiation. As the services provided for therein have largely been completed. In short, we have submitted a complete budget and have made revisions to be submitted to the submitted budget to address your concerns. The executive branch has been responsive and cooperative with your requests. We now await and look forward to your timely approval of the budget for fiscal year 2013. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, we've got a letter here presented to the body at this time. And yesterday, we heard from the chairman, and after speaking with some of the senators this morning, the senators are interested on what the other three officials have to say about this too. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a statement from the vice chair. After the vice chair, I'll bring to you, secretary, and then vice secretary will come to you also, as we have 4 elected executive officials. Yes, according to the Constitution, there's 4 executive officials. Each 4 have a voice too, so just asking for your opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Secretary, visitors. I've done a complete review, and I agree with everything that's written and forwarded to the legislative branch. It clearly states where it states in the Constitution clearly, and I support the chairman's decision 100%. Thank you.
All right, the floor now recognizes Secretary of the Executive Branch, Scott Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to offer my condolences to not only the district, but to the families, Costa family this morning. Some things happen that affect not only one community, but it affects our entire nation. We sat at length here and discussed the budget. And we are here as servants of the nation, the Crow Nation. We're here to serve. They elected us to help people. And we can't help people to an extent without money. I mean, the budget yesterday it was mentioned that it is not projected, but I believe it is. We are a coal tribe. We get our money from coal. And leases and whatnot, the market changes. And based on some of the discussions that we had yesterday, the market actually does look good this year for coal. It was alluded to yesterday by CJ and Pat that, you know, perhaps this year coal prices may go up. And projections, this past year we didn't count on the sugar coal mine exploding. And that hurt us. We set a budget last year and then the mine exploded and our coal prices went down. And, you know, we had to scramble to make ends meet, but we survived, we made it this far. Now we're at the point where we're looking at another year. In the budget, it may go over. I'm really optimistic about this coming year's coal prices and the revenue that we'll be bringing in. Hopefully, if we pass this and then move on forward, Cloud Peak Energy may be another avenue for us to start making money. And some of the agreements that are in place for that will bring 3 times the amount of income that Westmoreland brings. So we could have an even bigger budget that exceeds what we have set here today. But for the record, I do concur with the chairman and vice chairman on the letter itself, mainly because it relates to the Constitution. The Constitution is law, and how we interpret that and how we abide by it will strengthen our nation. So with that, I yield the floor back to you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Floor now recognizes Vice Secretary of the Executive Branch, Darren O'Kyle.
Thank you, Speaker. Thanks for the letter here responding to the budget. The budget as submitted. I have some concerns about this budget. In the past, in election time, and I'm gonna Chairman Blackie in March 2009 hired over 500 people to secure an election, and we're gonna give them a blank check, and same thing will happen, and 30 people will go back to 32 hours. People will be laid off, and there's a way to have this continuing resolution and Balaesa will have a better handle on this budget if it is passed. That's my only concern, and I believe that's where I'm coming from. The continuing resolution, and people will say that I'm trying to stop government. I'm not trying to stop government. I'm trying to secure into the future jobs, because many of you know we were in 32 hours in the past. People were laid off. People were hired, mass hiring in 2009, and then a trickle effect into 2012, and we're still paying back 2009. That would be my recommendation, is to have a continuing resolution so that we can blank check to the chairman is so he can have a mass hiring and pay people to love him. I don't think that's right.
All right, thank you. We've heard from the 4 executive officials, and we're still in the debate portion. So, floor recognizes Senator Goes Ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chair, and executive officers, members of the body. Yes, I'd like to Section 3 of the enumerated powers says the executive branch shall exercise the following powers and responsibilities herein provided, subject to any limitations imposed upon such powers by the statutes and laws of the United States. And then it goes into subsection A, B, C, D, E, F, G, N, and to K. And all these four are supposed to agree on any negotiations and then move forward. It's not singular, it's plural. The four elected officers are supposed to agree on, not just it states in the enumerated powers they gotta work together, decide, and come to consensus. But then it also has the chairman's responsibilities and duties specifically. It states in here too. We can go into that, but I'm not. As well as the secretary. And my point is this, that we asked in executive session last evening, we went until about 5:45. We asked two things. We asked a bank statement from First Interstate, what the year-end balance is. Now that means to me and us in here, the year-end balance of a bank statement from First Interstate, how much money is left, how much cash is left of the Crow tribal government. We haven't had that. It talks about in the Constitution about a quarterly financial report. I've been in here 9 years, and the executive branch, the previous administration, they haven't done that. But we've been giving them rubber stamps and agreeing. So the chairman is going back to the Constitution, saying and stating the enumerated powers. So we will bring that financial quarterly report in the upcoming 2012 session, October. That's what he's saying. And then not only that, okay, what was it, the $2.3 million to Aiken and Gunn, the Energy Council? It's coming out of the, sorry, 2.5, without. 2.5, we're gonna pay, it's an expenditure that's gonna be paid to your water rights of Aiken and Gunn. It's coming out of the general fund budget. And we're asking that question, show us the contract, and now he doesn't want to show us the contract. We want to make an educated decision on behalf of 13,000 Crows. I respect all you employees that are here, but there are 13,000 other Crows besides us. I'm glad that you have a job, and I'm glad that I'm fortunate that I have an elected job. But I got a thing, and we got a thing. I have every right. I wasn't elected to be quiet. Never elected to be quiet. I got to ask questions. We asked, but he's not showing us. It's going to the Constitution. We ain't got nothing to hide. Mom, Valeria Bissakhwala and Nagaru Balapumaj. Ijo Jamina Midur, the Chira or a gate, Pish and Milera, like Bidia. Maybe we should put the front door in the back and put the back door in the front. We ain't got nothing to hide. This is what we're saying. What has he got to hide? What has the executive branch got to hide? So, you don't want to show us the books. Doesn't want to show us the contracts. It's saying, you're not entitled to it, is what you're saying, Mr. Chairman. And then he's proposing, his proposal is to add another $1 million, 41,000. We did that last year, Mr. Chairman. We spoke about that. We talked about that. And on behalf of all the legislators, we're not gonna be doing that anymore. Yeah, it is projected revenue, but we can talk about real dollars too. What are the money that's coming in quarterly? We can look at that too. But I'm sure we're not gonna be doing that, so. You know, we talk about transparency. You know, the people should know why 2.5 million is being spent to outside counsel. I believe what I heard, the original plan, and some of the other, all of the legislators have said the original plan to pay Aiken and Gum was going to be taken out of the settlement money. That's what we heard. But now it's going to come out of your general fund budget to pay 2.5 million. How did that happen? That's why we want to see what the contract says. Do we want to approve that on behalf of 13,000 Crows for this 2013 budget? It's a legitimate question. And we got our answer written according to the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Floor recognizes Senator Stewart of the Black Lodge District.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, Secretary, Vice Chairman, Secretary and Vice Secretary and employees, yes. You know, I'm the one that requested this attorney contract, and we had the understanding that this attorney contract was gonna be part of the record today. And we also asked for year-end statements on the cash on hand, on the money that is supposed to be either there or not there. We wanted those statements. Again, this is the Crow Tribe's money. We're talking about a budget here. And yeah, things have been discussed and things have been talked about. But the thing is there's $2.5 million right now that is unaccounted for. All it says is Energy Council, and what was told to us without any proof was that it's going to go to Aiken Gum. Now it's told to us through this letter that we're not privy to this, and so the public, every 13,000 crows, all the 13,000 crows are not privy to any of this information, is what I'm hearing today. We asked for a year-end statement, that didn't come. We're trying to move ahead. And like Senator Goldshead stated, like a lot of different ones have stated yesterday, it's good there's a lot of attention right now on this. A lot of employees here. There's a lot of other things that are important out there, but yeah, it's good you're here. And for those 13,000 crows, we have it live streamed right now and it's online right now, which is good. Right now, we're looking at this, and this is unacceptable because we're hiding behind areas of interpretation of the Constitution that are false. If you look at the enumerated powers of the executive branch, the responsibilities for this executive branch, it states that they have to give reports. They have to give the financials. And when it's dealing with $2.5 million that's going to be coming out of your general fund, we have every right to ask, where is that money going? We have every right to see what contract is out there. What I'm being told today is that, what we're being told today is that they're doing a contract with someone, but you have no right to see it. And we're going to pay $2.5 million to these people, and you don't have to know what's going on with it. That's unacceptable. We're here today to move forward. And this is the best thing we got today. Yesterday, we were making good progress. It looked like we were doing some good here, that today we're gonna move forward. We had a discussion in here. And I'm for this continuing resolution. We gotta keep progress moving forward for our elders. We gotta keep progress moving forward for our students. Right now, those are the biggest things that are coming out. Emails, text messages, Facebook, messages like of that sort. And I agree. We gotta keep that moving forward. We gotta keep things moving forward. But there's these kinds of details right now that need to be ironed out. And as elected official has swore to protect and make sure that we be accountable and transparent to the financials, it wouldn't be fair for us to accept this letter. Right now, Aitken Gump has more privilege than you. Right now, Aitken Gump has more authority and privilege to hear what this man here, the chairman, is saying about this contract. You're the Crow tribal member. You're the one with more quarter Crow blood. You're the one that's a member of this tribe. You have that privilege. You have that authority. It's your right to see this. Can we open our eyes? Can we look at this? Why are we going to accept that? This is your right, your privilege to look at those contracts. It's unacceptable to hear someone say, no, it's not your right. Constitution says I don't have to show you anything. That's wrong. And that's an injustice to the Crow people. They have a right to know what's going on with their millions. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry if I spoke up a little bit loud, but I'm adamant about this subject. We need accountability, transparency, and this is the kind of stuff that we cannot tolerate no more. Thank you.
Floor now recognizes Senator Wilson of the Mighty Few District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, visiting Crow tribal members. It's good to see everybody here today. I'm just kind of elaborate a little bit about what Senator Goza had said, about projected income. And projected to me, it's projected, it's just an idea, it's what we think we're gonna get. And by saying, I think we're gonna get another, $1.4 million. It's, that they must have a pretty good crystal ball. And the secretary spoke a little bit about coal, or coal tribe, that's true. But, there's all kinds of hidden variables out there. I know Dean Barnes over there, I used to work with him, a long time ago when I used to work. We worked at the mine. And he knows, CJ Stewart knows, we talk about coal. What would happen if the dragline boom fell apart? How long are you gonna be down? That dragline is pretty old. And you talk about the plant, the coal plant, the secondary crusher, that plant's 40 years old. If all that broke down and stuff like that, and it's possible. We live in the here and now, where equipment breaks down, where explosions happen, where fires happen. We don't want those things to happen, but they still do. And it seems like maybe our crystal ball is a little off a little bit by saying, yeah, there's an extra $1.4 million floating around out there. Let's get it and we'll do it. What if that projected income passes? What if that extra $1.4 million doesn't come in? That's something that we need to all take into consideration before we even look at it. And I agree with Senator Gozahead, but we we can't bank on, monopoly money. It's something that, it ain't there, let's not count it. If it comes in, great, bring it in, let's, appropriate it. But until that day actually happens, we shouldn't even count it as being in our pocket and already spent again. We talked a little bit about, Constitution, all of us, the elected officials, we put our hand on the Bible and we took an oath. And I believe each one of us, is doing that to the best of our knowledge, to the best of our ability, or what. But this branch is not the branch that deliberately, overrides the Constitution and tries to enroll people who don't not have the 1/4 blood quantum. That's something that this branch does not do. And we talk about the Constitution, but I kind of got sidetracked a little bit around the budget. So, that's why I'm against the proposed, $2.8 million or $28 million budget. It's, we're fooling with money that's not real. And I thank you for your time.
Floor recognizes Chairman Black Eagle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In our quarterly reports in our council, we submitted the budget for fiscal year 12 ending June. And I think a lot of the people here that were at the council meeting. And we have nothing to hide also. We are presenting the quarterly report for October next week. So when you're talking about us trying to hide, we've never done that. We've submitted the fiscal report to this body as it states in the Constitution. We've done that continuously. And we agreed with you to follow the Constitution, and the Constitution, if we want to go back to yesterday, then let's go back to yesterday. Let's go back and go to court and see what the court says about compensation for the legislative branch. If you want to go there, let's go there. But if you don't, let's talk about the 28 million that we talked about today. Everybody gets paid, you get paid, we get paid, the 107 gets paid, the elderly get paid, college students get paid. The services for the entire 13,000 get paid. Some of you in here have 2 jobs. Some of you work at the Sarpy mine. You have 2 jobs. Some of you, we paid your college tuition, paid you to go to college. And so when you talk about that, let's bring that out. And if you want to follow the Constitution, let's follow it. And if you want to go to court, we'll go to court. Thank you.
Floor recognizes Senator Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of the body, and executive branch, Mr. Secretary. We can go around and around in the Constitution, in the election ordinance, and we discussed that. Why does it say in the election ordinance as well as in the Constitution that you have to give up your federal and state jobs and tribal jobs in order to get elected? Why is it in there? I did too, Mr. Chairman. But you're going to try, instead of progress moving forward, you're trying to go backwards. This is water under the bridge, and you keep bringing it up with all your advisors and that, and that's what's happening right now. You don't want to move forward. There's no transparency. Okay, 1.9 million you got 1.9 million in advance from the Westmoreland to increase the August per capita. Bill Watts said 1 million, but it was actually 1.9 million. And I want everybody to know in live stream, you guys are listening, in the contract it says that 1.9 million that was taken in advance of our code, but it's okay, 1.9 million, ganun chicken na. From a stroke of a pen, agreement got a nil. The 1.9 million, we're going to be paying it back. Half of our per capita during the December payment, you're going to only get half of your per capita. It's 1.9 million that he got in advance to increase your August 2012 per capita, to increase it to $300. So with that 1.9 million, we're going to pay until that get half of our per capita at each quarter in April, this December and April, until that 1.9 million is going to be paid. Where's that transparency? That's what we're talking about. Transparency. Yeah, you can attack each and every one of them, but we got to go to the law. Draft the law. We are supposed to, according to Aiken and Gum, water code, that's our jurisdiction, and it's not even in here. Water code violated. They say they're working on it, but we have any of the senators, have you seen a water code as of yet? I haven't seen a water code yet. Where's the transparency? This is why we're coming up to an election year. You better search your heart and vote for the right person that's going to represent you for the next 4 years. I'll say that much.
All right, that's enough. That's enough. We're gonna have to stick to our agenda here. We're still on the debate portion. And yesterday, Mr. Chairman, when we talked about some issues. We had some questions. We want those questions to be answered. When we approve a budget, the budget says we'll spend so much on this program. We'll spend this amount on this program. I'll use 107 as an example. We approved the budget for 107 for each 107 member to get $300. But then later on, some of them come to us and say, our pay was reduced to 200. That's when I had to draft a letter asking you, why did you reduce their pay to 200? It went from May to the following June. Some of those 107 members aren't there anymore. We've removed them. We've asked about a back pay for those 107 members who are owed. And it's accumulated to $6,000 per 107 committee member. We approved their budget, but the budget wasn't followed. Another example, we approved the budget for the youth, the summer youth. You turned around, came in here and said, I need to get money from your budget to cover the summer youth. We had approved their budget that year before. I made a suggestion at that meeting. Some of your legal counsel was sitting here. I asked all the senators. I said, if the tribal youth needs money, we'll donate our paycheck to them, one paycheck. All the senators were in agreement that day. The executive side wasn't in agreement. I asked your attorney, Roger, are you willing to donate your paycheck? He said, no, that's not my problem. That's your guys' problem. And I had to remind your attorney there that it's the Crow people's money that makes your paycheck and you can't even give back to the people who feed you. So I'm just reminding you what's going on there. We've also had another issue. We had some people who had to donate to a campaign fund, brought over letters. They're asking about can they get reimbursed if they disagree but were threatened with their job? So this branch, all that we're doing is asking on behalf of the people. And you bring a letter today stating, well, you don't want to answer the question. And we're not holding the budget hostage. We're not holding the education money hostage. We're not holding the others' money hostage. The legislative branch doesn't hold the money. The legislative branch doesn't make the checks. The executive branch makes the checks and holds the money. So when it says it's the legislative branch that's holding everything, that's false. When we approve a budget, it's from October 1st to October 1st. When a program doesn't make it to October 1st, it's that program's responsibility to make sure it makes it to October 1st. We're acting on behalf of the people. And we're asking on behalf of the people that we don't borrow from the future. We have to get away from this payday loan system that hurts us. We have to learn to follow our budgets. The legislative branch, we've had a carryover because we stuck within our budget. But each year we don't get our carryover. So today, we're here again we're still in the debate portion. Senators, what are we going to do? We've got this budget in front of us. What's the solution? We have some employees here. They get paid out of this budget. But remember, this money that's paying all of us, elected officials, employees, it's the people's money. And it's up to us to tell them what we're doing with their money. That's all they want to know, is what are we doing with their money? And we're trying to provide the answers to the questions. That's the flow of government. Executive, legislative, judicial. When I make a request on behalf of the legislative branch stating we want to do this with our funds, Mr. Chairman, I get rejected by your finance officer. When you make a request, it's followed through. But when I make a request, I have to jump through hoops. I get rejected. For example, Crow Fair. Everybody wants to have a good Crow Fair. We want to help each other out. We got all these other tribes that come to enjoy Crow Fair with us. So we back each other up. So we try to fund each other and back each other up. You know, we need to come together. So at this time, we're still in the debate portion, senators. Floor recognizes Senator Alden, the Bighorn District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chairman, guest, elected members. This time, I'd just like to make I believe there's no more comments, and I'd like to make the motion to cease debate at this time.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to cease debate. Second by Senator Coversup. Question by Senator Stewart. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Motion to cease debate moves forward with a vote of 17 yes, 0 no, and 0 abstain. At this time, we open the floor for any recommendations or motions for amendments.
Mr. Speaker,
Floor recognizes Senator Goes ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chair, and members of the body and other elected officers. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to amend the proposed budget that's been introduced yesterday of the $27 million.
Motion by Senator Goza to amend budget. Second by Senator Stewart of the Backlodge District. Question by Senator Backbone of the Reno District. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Question of privilege.
Organized Senator Wilson.
Mr. Speaker, just for everybody's understanding, we're amending the original budget that was proposed.
Mr. Speaker, if he's directing that question to me, my answer is yes. The one that we introduced, that was introduced and was adopted and is on the floor right now is the one.
So do all the senators understand? Any questions? Senator goes ahead. Secretary of the House wants to know what the amendment is.
Okay, Jay, what's the amendments?
Floor recognizes in-house counsel Jay Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Secretary, members of the legislative branch, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Vice Secretary, members of the General Council in attendance. The motion that the branch just adopted did not reference any specific amendments. What I heard, Mr. Speaker, was the chair of the Revenue Committee moving this branch to approve amendments. We have no specific amendments that have been proposed to this branch. I don't believe.
He's not an elected official. If we cannot talk on behalf of ourselves, we cannot talk either.
He's our in-house legal counsel. When executive legal counsel, we recognize executive legal counsel.
Mr. Speaker, former Senator Half does not have standing to raise a point of order before this branch of government, and would respectfully remind former Senator Half that he's not entitled to address this branch without a letter of authorization from the chairman per Rule 32, which he introduced to this branch and voted in favor of. The chairman is the sponsor of the legislation currently before this branch. For an entitlement to address this branch, if you're not an elected official, you need a letter of authorization from the chairman, signed by the chairman, notarized by the tribal secretary, per the legislative resolution amending our House rules introduced by former Senator Half, voted in favor by former Senator Half. Just a respectful reminder. Mr. Speaker, before you go any further, Chief Judge, I don't know if you're going to be comfortable sitting in here due to the fact that the chairman had said there's a possibility of going to court on this. I believe if you sit in here any longer, you'll be, how would I say it in a legal term? There'll be a conflict for you to be sitting in here at this time. Okay, if you want to go ahead, I'm just letting you know that,
I don't wanna put you in a position where, so if you're okay with sitting in here, then we'll proceed on. So are you okay with sitting in here? Okay. All right. All right, you can proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the Revenue Committee met Wednesday, September 26th, with the proposed fiscal year 2013 budget on the agenda. The Revenue Committee discussed the proposed budget and resolved with a 13-0 vote to recommend a series of amendments to the full legislature. Those amendments included taking the chairman's proposed fiscal year 13 budget authorization expenditures, reducing every single one by 25%, with the exception of the branch budget. It would be 25% not of his proposed fiscal year 13 spending level, 25% of the fiscal year 12 spending level. The reason, obviously, for the 25% is that it would be an amendment to the proposed fiscal year 13 budget bill that would extend the fiscal year of 2012 through the end of the 2012 calendar year. It's a 3-month spending authorization at 25% of the proposed fiscal year 2013 spending levels. There have been additional discussions about possible amendments that have followed the decision of the Revenue Committee, and as Revenue Chair Senator Gozet, I believe, is referencing those amendments as well. That would exclude from the 25% proportional reduction the senior benefits, 67 years of age and older. It would restore that to the full proposed spending level for fiscal year 13. And the 2 line items called education grants, it would restore those to the full 100% proposed 2013 fiscal year spending level. Other items to note are that all of the chairman's proposed revenues are included in the 2013, what he proposed for 2013 fiscal year remain the same. Nothing's changed in terms of proposed revenues. So the only material change would be the spending authorization amounts, 25% of what was proposed as a general rule with the exceptions I noted. The other amendments that were discussed and that are in a draft that we have, the legal office has produced, are sections added to the budget bill. Everything's an attachment to the budget bill. The budget bill has 7 sections. Those sections set out and clarify as a matter of Crow tribal law exactly what it is we're doing. And most important of which is that we're making the fiscal year of 2012 continue through the calendar year of 2012, so it would end at the stroke of midnight, December 31st. And the 2013 fiscal year thus would begin January 1st of 2013, and the legislature would need to have another budget bill proposed to it prior to that time to continue authorization of expenditure of tribal revenues. So, Mr. Speaker, with all that being said, I believe that all that Senator Gozahead needs to do is clarify that the amendments that he's proposing are those amendments which were discussed and voted in favor by the Revenue Committee September 26th of last week, Wednesday of last week.
All right, before we go back to Senator Gozahead, Senator Stewart had raised his hand, so Senator Stewart.
If it, right now, there was a request from the constituency of the 107, I guess they have lunch at noon, and don't wanna hold them back, but if we have some issues that we need to put together our red line amendments, maybe we could use that 1 hour for them to go to lunch so they can be back at 1. I'm just putting it out there, it's up to the membership here. I believe they have lunch at 12.
Senators, floor recognizes Senator Gozahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I answer Senator Stewart's question, there was a question on the floor from our legal, and I do concur with him on the September 26th, Wednesday, Amendments, I concur with what he just said. Those are the amendments that I was referring to, making those amendments. And then to answer Senator Stewart's request on behalf of the 107 committee, we are in the amendment stage and we can honor that request as well too.
All right, it's 12 o'clock noon, so we'll break for 1 hour and reconvene at 1 o'clock.